I say that Todd Monken is worth at least 2 more wins in 2026.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Dog Pound? I'm Spencer German, your host of the Locked On Browns podcast, and proudly covering your Cleveland Browns each and every single day in the land and on the road. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Versatility is everywhere with Todd Monken's Browns. Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn looks as NFL ready as any other rookie in the NFL. Plus, Todd Monken's presence is worth at least 2 wins in 2026. I think this is a fascinating question. The idea of how many wins is a coach actually worth to a team's record the following season or that first season that they're at the helm. And as I thought about this more and more and wanted to bring this to the table as a topic, I kind of settled on, I think, 2 being a fair number for how many wins Todd Monken is theoretically worth in the grand scheme of things. And I think a lot of this goes back to what we saw last year from this football team. There were a handful of games that could have easily been flipped in the Browns' favor in terms of a win just by simply better in-game decision-making or different in-game decision-making that could have essentially paved the way for the Browns to win. I think about that Vikings game in London where Kevin Stefanski didn't go for it on a 4th down situation, punted it to allow his defense to get a stop, and then Minnesota found a way to march on the field. I get in the grand scheme of things, we don't have to relitigate all these, but in the grand scheme of things, you have a really good defense, you're trusting them, okay, but maybe Todd Monken calls it differently. Maybe he goes for it. Maybe that leads to then the Browns getting a win in that situation. I think the Buffalo game is another one that comes to mind, a close game that a few different decisions here or there probably changed the outcome. The Tennessee game, we all know about the decision down 14 to go for 2, which is very commonplace in the NFL. We don't know Todd Monken's philosophy on those things yet. I do believe he is at least somewhat analytically driven, so it'll be interesting to see how he handles those things. And I would imagine he might have still gone for it on 2, but even a different 2-point play call, even a different situation, because if I remember correctly, that 2-point play was the one where they took the ball out of Shedeur Sanders' hands. At least one of them was when he was on like a heater after leading a drive down the field to score. And I didn't necessarily agree with at least that part of it. And then the San Francisco game. We all remember the San Francisco game. They run a trick play on a 4th down on their side of the field. And it was Harold Fannin Jr. getting the snap. And while I obviously applaud the creativity, or I like the idea there of sort of mixing in some gadgety type stuff, I do wonder how Todd Monken maybe calls that situation or calls that play or how he sees it, and if that leads to potentially a win for a team. So there's at least 4 games I gave you where a couple in-game decisions here or there impact the bottom line of how many games the Browns actually won. I think it's fair to put some of those on Kevin Stefanski last year. Those are the things when, in the NFL in general, teams win and lose in the margins week over week over week. So even with as bad as the Browns were last year, with as bad as the Browns offense was last year, they were still in these games that were decided by a possession or decided by a couple plays here or there or decided by a couple decisions here or there. And I think Todd Monken, again, he's a first-time head coach, I get it, but the way he sees things, the energy he brings, the thought process behind putting his players in the best positions to be successful and not just having like a set scheme where he's like, we got to get guys that only fit what we do in this situation. I just think there's going to be some different decisions made in some of those games or scenarios that probably contribute to winning. I think 2 is a fair number to give a coach in any situation like this, even as a first-time head coach. I wasn't trying to go overboard here and say like 5, 6, 7, like that the coaching difference is going to be that much, that vast that they're going to all of a sudden be this juggernaut team. Because I still think there's some things with this roster that have to figure themselves out. There's still a lot of things to overcome. Very young roster that's going to be learning on the fly. And in some respects, Todd Monken is going to be learning on the fly. Yes, he is a seasoned offensive coach in this league. Yes, he's had plenty of success on the football field. But being a head coach is different than being an offensive coordinator. And the in-game stuff when you have to handle both sides of the ball and having to make certain decisions in certain situations. There's a lot, everyone always talks about like being the CEO coach, like in college especially, rather than being the offensive play caller. Todd's going to be the offensive play caller, and he's going to try to handle the other stuff with it. And some people are equipped to do that, some people aren't, but you don't really know until you try it. And he's going to try to see how that goes for him in this first year. And yeah, it might go great. It might go poorly. There might be some games where it's a little bit too overwhelming for him, and he's got to sort of adjust. We have to see what it all looks like in real time. So I'm not going to sit here and go overboard and predict like a massive swing in terms of wins that the Browns are going to have next year just because they changed their coach. But I do think giving him at least 2 is a fair number. And if you think about the Browns' upcoming season, we think about what the over-under, which I talked about last week, is at FanDuel, 6.5 for this Browns team. Listen, if they won 5 games last year and you give Todd Monken at least 2 that kind of go on to his credit as, hey, different person sort of pulling the strings, that means two more wins, then that gets you to at least, hypothetically, 7 wins up last year from 5, and maybe even more depending on how the offense kind of comes together and how things kind of unfold with this group that's been revamped this offseason. If they can get that group playing more consistently and competently and competitively in this league, then I think for sure there's going to be moments where Todd Monken making a decision here or there is going to change change the outcome of a game. And so I think 2 is probably a fair number to put on it, but I don't want to go overboard here either. I do believe in Todd Monken as the head coach of this football team, and I think there's going to be a lot of good that he kind of brings to the table, a different perspective. Again, I've talked at length about the fact that he has been so vocal in how he wants to run his offense and the philosophy that he has, and just trying to play to guys' strengths and not just be tied to one specific thing. I think that benefits him in a major way. But again, as I think more and more about the upcoming season, what the schedule is going to look like, and by the way, we get the schedule release coming up later this week, which we will talk about on the show. As I think about all those things, and I think about how last year went, even with a team that was clearly not ready to compete at a high level, and they still won 5 games and eked those out, and still had a couple other opportunities to win games, I think that Todd Monken's presence, decision-making, coaching ability probably swings at least 2 more games than what we saw last year. And so then you're in an interesting place, because then you're talking about a team that has like 6 or 7 wins instead of just 4 or 5 wins or whatever. So, and maybe more depending on how, again, the offense gels, how the 2 units kind of perform in general. If this team ends up being above a little bit above their skis in the way that they sort of come around, then maybe, just maybe, we're talking about even more. But I'm willing to say Todd Monken is worth probably 2 more wins on the resume next season. Do you agree? You can find me on Twitter at Spencito_. You can hit me up in the comment section on YouTube. You can join that Discord channel if you want to become part of the Everydayer Club, and let me know your thoughts. We got more coming though, because after rookie minicamp, I feel Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn is one of the most prepared players for the NFL. We'll talk about it coming up on the Locked On Browns podcast. If you've ever opened up your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscription spending and bills can get overwhelming fast. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks all your subscriptions in one spot and helps you cancel the ones that you don't need in just a few taps. And you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of your upcoming bills. It just makes everything feel more organized, gives you a clear picture of your finances in day to day. I can tell you there were subscriptions I forgot about, and Rocket Money helped me remember them so that I could cancel them. Couldn't believe I was still paying for all these things. And now I'm saving money every single month. Rocket Money is a personal financial app. Helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Today's episode also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and that one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need to make the right hire, that's a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people that actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'll talk to you about Indeed, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes, less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person, cut through the chaos. That's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of the show will get $75 in sponsored job credit to help your job get that premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Sponsored Jobs. All right, so as the rookie minicamp wrapped up over the weekend, there were certainly some notable things that I took in. Talked about a lot of them on Friday's episode after the first practice of the weekend. Saturday was day 2. And one thing that certainly seemed to catch people's attention was Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's play. And just the fact that you saw in real time. And I get it. It's rookie minicamp. It's not... they have to get the whole team together. We got to see it in action with the veterans and getting a sense of how this all kind of fits together and what his role is and all those things. But I don't know how you could not be excited about him as a player when you see him against, we could say, I think his peers. Like, it's a lot of rookies, a lot of guys who are fresh out of college, and he was just making plays and seeing things really well. Throughout both days, but I specifically made sure to get some notes on him on that second day in particular. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure you check out the Everydayer Club. It's your chance to get Locked On Browns ad-free on any audio platform you prefer. Plus, you get access to our members-only Discord channel where you can interact with myself and other hosts from around the network. Just head to LockedOnBrowns.supercast.com to sign up and learn more. So back to Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn. Like, day 2, I noticed that he was constantly in the right place at the right time. He broke up a pass on Saturday, and we talked so much pre-draft about him as a prospect and a player, being able to play at different levels of the defense, being able to play down in the box, being able to play in the slot, being able to play deep if needed, and the versatility that comes with that. And you saw that in real time during rookie minicamp, where he was in different spots and he was constantly making plays. He was constantly tight in coverage. And again, I get it. We're not talking about him going against Jamar Chase and a tight end out of the slot like Trey McBride or something like that. Like I get it. He wasn't good. This was fellow rookies, his own peers, guys who are fresh out of college, undrafted guys. It's a random collection of young players around the league and rookies that were all kind of part of this group and trying out to make the team. So I'm not saying like he's not going to have any mistakes or anything like that. He certainly looked like a player that's ready for the next level, and that he was picking things up quickly when it came to having his eyes in the right place, seeing what he needed to see, being where he needed to be, making the right plays at the right time. I was very encouraged by what I saw from Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn in this small sample size in a rookie minicamp, keeping all that context in mind. And it's part of the reason why I go back to, am I excited about Spencer Fano? Of course. Anytime I know that tackles aren't the sexy picks, but anytime you can add a tackle, finish off an offensive line, get that guy that you think might be part of or might be like your left tackle of the future, and his athleticism is on full display this past weekend. Anytime you get those guys, it's exciting to me. I enjoy the nuance of offensive line play. I'm excited about the receivers. Casey Concepcion already proving people wrong with the drop thing and being able to catch the ball and doing it soundly and making plays. Like, he's going to be almost the Zay Flowers of this offense, and there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of potential for him. So I'm excited about him too. I'm excited about Denzel Boston. I'm excited to see if Brailsford he can carve out a role for himself. But the pick that I probably loved the most from draft weekend, and more than anything, it had to do with just the value, was Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn, because the more I watched this tape, the more I learned about him and knew about him. I saw a guy that I thought could make it at the NFL level despite coming out of the MAC, and I understood why he had risen up boards, and somehow, some way, you got him 58th overall. I mean, that's crazy to me. And so seeing him in real time live up to, at least during rookie minicamp, the tape that we saw and showing a lot of what was visible on tape, I think was very, very encouraging. And it's why it was probably my favorite pick of the weekend, because you got such great value on a guy that I think could be a truly an every down safety and make a lot of plays for this Browns team in the secondary. I also think on the heels of Andrew Berry leading up to the draft, talking about, positionless defense and, trying to utilize these hybrid style safeties in the NFL today that can play different spots and do different things. And how we've seen that around the league. Nick Emmanuel was that for the Seahawks last year. We know about Kyle Hamilton, obviously with the Ravens, who does some similar stuff. It used to be that, like, and I'm not saying, like, Hamilton came out as a tweener. I'm not saying that Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn was a tweener, but it used to be like if you're a tweener, it was like a bad thing. Now all of a sudden, teams are finding roles for those guys because there's so many different things you can do with them. And I think the same thing kind of applies without it being a situation where he's considered a tweener, because he was not that. He was purely a safety. But I think there's something to be said for he is in a situation where he's going to be utilized in a number of different roles, and I'm fascinated. Like his ability to play different areas of the field was evident this weekend. His ability to cover guys evident this weekend. His ability to fly up and be there in run stopping was there, and playing in this defense with Mike Rutenberg, who is a savant when it comes to secondary in particular, because that's what he did. That was his primary focus in Atlanta this past year, in the past couple years. I am fascinated to see what he has planned for Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn and what his role sort of becomes in this defense. And that's going to play itself out and sort of reveal itself in the weeks coming up, during OTAs, during mandatory minicamp coming up in June, and then obviously through training camp as well, how Ronnie Hickman, and Grant Delpit all sort of fit together big picture, and how they deploy those guys. It's going to be one of the things I'm paying maybe closest attention to throughout those various phases of the offseason program, to see what it all kind of looks like and how it all comes together, and what Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn, what type of role he carves out for himself. But the talent is there, and he looks like he's ready to be an NFL player. I'll also say this: it helps that he's coming into a defense where he's not going to have to think much, right? He's got two safeties in front of him who are established commodities here in Cleveland. And when he is out there as kind of that third guy, he knows that they kind of have his back. He has a great defensive line that's going to play up there with them when he's maybe in coverage out of the slot. He has great secondary guys on the outside in Denzel Ward and Tyson Campbell. He has a linebacking group that, while probably thinner than you'd want, does have some veteran presence, guys who know the system, in particular Quincy Williams. But also, you have Carson Schlesinger, who was the reigning defensive rookie of the year. There's a lot to like. It's a defense he can step into. He can fly around. He doesn't have to think. He can just kind of play freely and bounce off the other guys and learn as he goes. And it seems like he's already picking up things pretty quickly. So I'm excited about seeing Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn and what he brings to the table. I'm excited to see what role he maybe primarily finds himself in, but also where they try to move him around and deploy him at in different phases of this defense and at different points throughout the season coming up here in 2026. Super excited about him, and I made sure to pay closer attention to him, especially on day 2 of rookie minicamp, where you saw a lot of good stuff from him. There was a play where he was in coverage, and he made sure not to let I think it was a tight end that was coming to block him, take him out of a play. And essentially, he got himself back in position to then make he was getting blocked by a tight end and sort of walled him off, got free, and then would have made a tackle on a run play. Obviously, they're not tackling right now, but it was a great example of not letting a tight end take him out of a play and just having a nose for finding the football. And those are the types of things that you can expect with Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn. I'm excited to watch how he grows and develops in the months ahead leading up to the season. With all that said, one other thing that stood out about rookie minicamp is just how versatile this roster and this rookie class in particular is for Todd Monken. I think it's the theme of the 2026 Cleveland Browns, and we'll talk about that coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast. The NBA playoffs are here, and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer for you to get started. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's right, turn $5 into $150 if your bet wins by getting started with FanDuel right now. I like using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right in one place. Whether you're looking for player props or just following your favorite stars or your favorite team, it adds another level to the excitement of every game. And obviously here in Cleveland, our favorite team still very much in it, the Cleveland Cavaliers, got a big win on Saturday to get the series back a little bit closer. They got Game 4 coming up here on Monday night. 3.5-point favorites at home if you want to bet them in that. Meanwhile, they still have the 5th best odds plus 4,500 to win the NBA Finals in general. Nobody's given them a chance to win a game on the road. They're going to have to win in this series and potentially the next series. Well, it would be the next series against the Knicks. So if you still have some faith, if you think that they can pull this thing off, go bet the Cavs right now. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. So I mentioned the versatility of Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn, and I think that specific thought applies to really this entire roster that the Browns have, but certainly the rookies that they've brought in here. And I'll start there because, yes, it was Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn who flashed some of that this weekend, but it wasn't just him. I mean, Casey Concepcion continues to be a guy that the Browns are going to experiment with and use in a lot of different ways. I've mentioned the comp to Zay Flowers, and it feels like that's fair. They're not necessarily the exact same player, but they have some similar traits, and they do some things similarly well. And I'm already envisioning a lot of motion, which Casey Concepcion was a part of this week. I was impressed by the fact that that Todd Monken didn't mince or didn't hold back when it came to trying to put stuff out there, give them the playbook, and say, here's what we're trying to do. Let's see what you can do now, what you know now, what you don't. And not necessarily withholding things and sort of slow playing it. He wants to hit the ground running with this group, and I think that's huge. So it was good to see that for sure. But you're seeing like how Casey Concepcion can play different roles. We've talked a lot about the Taylor Green part of this and how he expressed over the weekend that he's open to really whatever role Todd Monken decides he wants to play him in. If it's goal line situations because of his athleticism or short yardage, he's in for it. He wants to do whatever it's going to do, whatever he needs to help the team win. And Monken has said it's probably a little too early or premature to put any sort of expectations on what that looks like or what other ways they could use him. They just want him focusing on learning how to be a quarterback right now, understandably so. But it's still worth noting that they're talking about that they'll probably consider that to some degree, and that there's maybe a package for him out there that exists to maximize his athleticism to help the team. And so that's another part of this. Like, he's got a lot of versatility. I mentioned Emmanuel McNeil-Warrn with a lot of versatility, being able to play on multiple areas of the field. And then this is all specific to the rookie class. But obviously Spencer Fano played right tackle mostly in college, but has played left tackle, and he's making that switch back to left tackle now. So you see it with the young guys, you see it with the new guys, you see it with just the roster in general. The linemen they brought in this offseason have all played multiple positions. Zion Johnson has played either guard spot. Titus Howard has played guard and tackle, I believe. Elton Jenkins has played center, most notably last year with the Packers, and guard. He was a Pro Bowler as a guard. there's just so many guys that can do a number of different things that they brought in this offseason. It feels like that was kind of part of the recipe when it comes to guys they were targeting. Was we want players that aren't just going to fit a specific role, that can do different things, and we can maybe tap into those if need be. So I'm intrigued by that because I want to see how this all shakes out. We know that the offensive line largely taken shape, but I've talked before about who's the center, who's the guards. Zion Johnson's going to be one of them. Is Elton Jenkins going to play guard or center? Does Brailsford sort of emerge as the starting center for this team as time goes on? We'll see. But that's one that has to be sorted out. Having guys that can do different things helps that cause. The receiver room. You added a couple guys. I think Boston sort of fits more of a specific role, but Casey Concepcion is going to be able to do a lot. I think even Jerry Jeudy, who's already here, can play different roles. He's been in the slot at times throughout his career, so there's some versatility with him. I think you have a dynamic backfield with, and I talked about this last week with my players who are maybe flying under the radar conversation. If you want to find that episode, you can find that with via Locked On Browns or at the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And I mentioned Dylan Sampson. How is Todd Monken going to deploy him out of the backfield or as a pass catcher in the slot or whatever it might be? He's got options there. The options are just endless with these guys and with this group in general. And that's kind of as we think about philosophically what Todd Monken wants, what he's looking for, it seems pretty obvious at this point. That versatility in his players, in his roster, in various positions is one of the key things that he's looked for, and that the staff around him has helped look for, and trying to build this thing into a competitive team again. That doesn't mean it's all going to take shape in 1 year. There's still plenty of guys here who are part of the previous regime that sort of fit more into a certain box, the way they did things. But the versatility part of this is on full display. And I didn't even mention a guy like Harold Fannin, who did a lot last year. He was probably the most versatile player that Kevin Stefanski leaned on the offensive side. You could argue some others, like Aiden Huntington played fullback. And that's the other thing. As I keep talking about this, I keep remembering guys. You had Carson Ryan talking about how he was talking about basically how he might play fullback at some point for the Browns, and that they envision using him as kind of an H-back, various roles. And like I said, the same thing as the tight end spot applies to Harold Fannin Jr. They can do different things with him. So there's just so much, and that's there's just so many different roles that guys can play, and so much on the play here when it comes to where these guys can kind of fit or what roles they could fit into. And Todd Monken sorting through those things and trying different things and seeing it all come together really does have me excited for the rest of the spring, but also the summer and the training camp as we lead up to the 2026 season. I'm fascinated to see what all that looks like. But clearly, versatility kind of feels like the theme of this Browns team in 2026, with just so many guys that wear many hats and are able to do that. It's going to make for a fun and entertaining, I think, off-season program and minicamp and training camp to discover what hats they end up wearing more so than others and how they fit big picture into what the Browns want to do on either side of the football. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button. Make Locked On Browns your first listen every day, wherever you get your podcasts, and at the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Don't forget about the Everydayer Club, your chance to get Locked On Browns ad-free. It's just $5 a month. Head to LockedOnBrowns.supercast.com to sign up and learn more. Plus, check out my friends at Locked On Cavs and Locked On Guardians. Thank you for being every day at the Locked On Podcast Network. I will catch you later, Cleveland.